Aloha. Today I wanted to do a video in reference to density and just a new, well, not really a new, just an expanded version of how I perceive like my own perspective on reality that is based upon not something that I came up with, just really something that pretty much a collection of everything that I've ever observed, and with a focus on what the Mayan people, or what is known as the ancient timekeepers, have understood as the nine underworlds, and really just use that. I'm gonna reference that in a second, but from the top layer of this perspective being the observable reality that we are understanding today is like the mainstream, the university system, the globe model, scientism, politics. All this stuff is a result of consciousness expanding itself in some kind of way to create this experience that we are living in this moment right now, with the collection of all the energies, all the layers, all the expansion of consciousness. No matter what you say, like, you're the most conscious person here, you're like, all the new agers talk all this shit about consciousness and the conscious community and all this shit talking. This shit talking is really how I see it, is that none of that shit even matters, because you are an expression of the all consciousness of this moment. So when you say, oh, well, I'm this and I'm that and those people are that, which is the essence of the new age, you're really activating your artificial ego. And that's another thing I wanted to mention too, is like these new age communities are losing their shit now. I watched a few videos just to see how these people are reacting to a Donald Trump, and one video this lady referenced saying, we're listening to the extraterrestrials and they're not telling us anything. They're basically saying that it's up to us. It's up to us to really take advantage or take control of the situation and utilize our abilities that we've learned from these channelers in the past and activate it in this moment to really see if we truly believe in what we understand is our reality. And I have these she had all these points about how to engage in your reality based upon the travesty that is a Donald Trump, and her fact that these so-called extraterrestrials or channelers are not telling them anything more. Pretty much it's maxing out. That energy is maxing out, which is what I've been saying in a good amount of videos in the past, is that this energy has a wall. It has an intention. It cannot, there's a reason why those energies exist somewhere else and not here, and why you, as a somewhat conscious individual, can exist here. You have a purpose here that is up to you on every single layer, and every other entity or vibration that attempts to engage in your reality while you are here will max out. And this whole love and light agenda with channelers like Cryon speaking at the United Nations, Bashar speaking in the New Age community, and all these other extraterrestrial people saying that they get this information. Give me a break. You are responsible for your own experience. Nobody is going to save you. Nobody is coming to make everything better. The secret space program is not going to do anything for you. These ancient alien and ancient astronaut theorists don't give one shit about the storylines that have added up to the colonial program as we know it today. The only way that they can maintain their celebrityism is if they continue to sell that ancient alien agenda, just like David Wilcock and Corey Goode can only be where they are if they continue to sell that disclosure and secret space program agenda. And like I mentioned in previous videos, those programs are designed to keep the power in the so-called powers that be underneath the guise of love and light. Shifting from fear and destruction, of controlling you with fear, outward slavery, fear and destruction, with the wartime vibrations, with the shifting of consciousness. People are needing to, they're needing the system of enslavement, which is the so-called powers that be system. That's what it is. It's a slave system. As the consciousness of the slaves expands, the consciousness of the slave holders must adjust to that expansion. And no longer is the America #1, we need to go give these people some freedom. We just got hit by terrorists, so we need to go attack Iraq and Saddam Hussein. He's got weapons of mass destruction, and we need to send our troops over there and go take him out. And then go take out Osama bin Laden and get those poppy fields in Afghanistan and go over to Iran and disarm the nuclear power and go over to Libya and take Gaddafi out and go over to Syria and bomb the shit out of them and send a whole bunch of drones all over the place and just blow shit up and get the oil fields. Oh, and make sure that we take care of climate change. But get those oil fields. But take care of climate change. And get those oil fields. And see, it's this off and on energy that is making you believe that this system is for you. It has zero interest in you at all. And all the interest in maintaining its own power over you. From the new age to the old religious programs, which is obvious. All the churches about money, the university system about money and limitation. They'll never go into challenging the systems which maintain them as the so-called smartest people in the universe. Just like Omarosa mentioned, Donald Trump is now the most powerful man in the universe. Because that's in the illusory universe that they're talking about. So, yeah, I mentioned the new age and the density of that place. That's basically what it's all boiling down to. Negative cognitive dissonance with the mainstream media and Hollywood and the university system, the globe model itself, the Big Bang Theory, the evolution theory. These are all programs to keep you to pretty much manifest your energy, your consciousness, your body into an illusory universe. And in that universe, the people who created that universe have power over you. They have dominion over you. They are your gods. They are your kings. They are your queens. So on the globe model, the university system and scientism, which is worshipped today, I just watched Arrival the other day. And I recommend checking that movie out, just to see how it's coded. And that's really why I watch these movies, is to see how they're programming people to think. There's obvious globe model programming in there, but one of the main things right in the beginning of the movie that's said in the introduction of the two main characters, the Amy Adams, she's the main character. She's a linguist, and her main thing is she wrote a book on language, and the guy she's working with is like a scientist. He's just the leading scientist. So they get this linguist and the scientist to go talk to the aliens. And when they meet, he's reading her book, and he reads a part out of her book that says something to the extent of, language is the foundation to civilization. And he says, oh, that's cool, it sounds good. And she says, yeah, that's catchy, you got to catch the people with the fluffy stuff. And then he says, yeah, it's cool, but it's wrong. Science is the foundation to civilization. So that's an automatic, that's a deep thread that gets woven into your, like a deep root that gets planted into your system when you hear that. And then you have another hour worth of movie, so-called intellectuals, showing you how they would interact with a scenario like this that you largely believe in. A good amount of people believe in this system the way it is. This is their reality if it were to go down. And of course, it's like the best case scenario. All these movies end with like the good people, the good guy, the heroes win, everything like that. There's this whole thing. That's the whole mentality, is they install the reality, the so-called reality of that artificial universe into you before they lock it in with the emotional body. So the up and down of the up and down of like the good things that happen in the movie, and then the bad, like the breakthroughs that happen in the movie, and like the bad things that happen in the movie. All this stuff gets activated in your emotional body, and that makes reality. The emotional body is a density in itself. This is how, like, so in relation to language is a big deal. Well, it basically communication. I'll get into language specifically in itself, but in a minute. But communication itself is the way that we expand consciousness in so many ways. So communication, to be zeroed in for a moment on the importance of communication. Communication itself is how we learn. It's how we reproduce on many ways. If you can't communicate with and without words to a loved one, then it's not gonna go down. Like you're just gonna be zombies walking around. It's not about the physical reality as it's promoted with like titties and ass on social media and TV and cartoons and the internet and all this stuff. It's all about the physical reality. It sucks you into one version of experience, and it sucks the soul, it sucks the life, it sucks the depth of communication out. Our language itself, when you understand like English, that's like a lunchable language. So if you have a lunch in comparison to like Mandarin and Sanskrit and like the ancient languages, that's energy being exchanged through from one individual to the next, from one generation to the next. If you have a microwave language, you will have a microwave civilization. If you have a lunchable language, you will have a lunchable civilization. This trending reality is a less than English, a lunchable reality, like a microwaved lunchable reality. So if you just have regular English, you can tolerate eating a lunchable. But if you stick a lunchable in the microwave, it just destroys it. Like you get plastic melted into that cheese, or so-called cheese, and that so-called meat just like breaks down, and it's just disgusting. You see, I gotta sneeze. Yeah, so over time we get de-evolved. The system in the downward spirals of the control grid. The system, in order to maintain itself, needs to counteract the expansion of consciousness. And how they do that is to expand the illusory consciousness reality, which is the globe model, the university system, which is it's a quarter at best, quarter version of true science. Because true science, like I said in previous videos, can only be true science if it's married with the reality of the spirit realm, and that's alchemy. You can't have true science unless you have at least an open door to the spirit realm. This is why the university system, as atheism, as totally lacking of void of the soul essence, is only a quarter at best scientific. But you can sell a quarter version of science if you put a crown on it, if you put some CGI to it, if you put it on television, if you get some crazy numbers that are really all over the place and sound real scientific and can be dumbed down by people like Bill Nye the Science Guy, and sold to you. You're sold a 16th of that quarter version of science, because the remaining fractions of that quarter of science is fabricated to make you disconnected from your reality. So you're even disconnected from the illusory reality. So you don't realize that the illusory reality is an illusion. So you're disconnected in two ways. At least you're disconnected from your natural vibrations, your natural connections to this reality, and you're also disconnected from understanding the reality that is the illusion. This is a perfect example of that, is going to school for however many years and only getting 1 degree. They're giving you only 1 degree of understanding your reality. 1 degree of an entire spectrum of existence. So at best, you only have the time and the energy or the wherewithal to achieve 1 degree. So this system is designed to create incomplete individuals within a dense environment. These incomplete individuals in a dense environment creates more density. And that's the how I'm seeing it, even more so after everything that I've studied and all the teachers that I've been learning from. what this reality, the illusory reality, really boils down to is the density of your focus, the density period. So recently I was thinking about the layers of earth, air, water, fire, and how you have like the jinn being understood as smokeless fire beings. And you have like the light body, the angel frequencies, you have the understanding of demons or lower worlds, and all these different storylines that exist all over the place. And it's kind of like in this chaotic bubble of misinformation, misunderstandings, lack of understandings, and just a whole bunch of emptiness. And in that emptiness, those voids have to be filled. And when you have a physical body, the illusory system says, hey, why don't we create empty consciousness, empty people, have them fill that emptiness with the physical reality, which is density. And they lose track of their soul essence. They're beyond the dense environment and get trapped into the dense world of illusion. And if you trap beings into this density, then you now become their God. So how, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, but I just wanted to go into it from the Mayan perspective and just give another example of how this reality, through, like I mentioned, language. I want to keep that thread going, because the trending page of every mainstream website or whatever it is, the mainstream agenda itself, the university system, the globe model, the NASA programming, the CERN, all this stuff, TED Talks, your so-called intellectuals in the scientism church, all of this is a language that maintains density. And you have all of these, so everything is a language, basically. So when you have a language that's based upon density, then you can keep people from expanding into their consciousness. This is why the trending page is so focused on emotional density. So you also have stuff like experiential density, which is your susceptibility ability how susceptible to you are to the experience. So by generating more fear and low vibrations, you generate more reasons to be the caretaker for sovereign beings, because they're not empowered anymore. They don't have any fire. So the experience itself, with the military-industrial complex, with the prison-industrial complex, with the expansion of war, with the fiat currency, that's affecting the experience, and that creates a density within the experience. The mainstream media creates a density with your emotional body. Hollywood, the way the public education system is designed, where you basically have these lowest common denominator children around each other, teaching themselves and being a part of a conformity system, not so much to learn anything, but evolving into conformity. Then you have the relationship density, which is affected by everything, the fear, the experiential density, the emotional density, you have your relationships, all of that stuff gets boiled down to your relationship, how you relate to your partner. An example of this would be how people who have a lot of work to do with their family, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, get into relationships and end up repeating what their parents did or didn't do in their relationships, because that's part of the soul essence work that those individuals were in line to do before they bought into the illusion. So this is also what's part of the chaotic program, is to suck people in to an illusion so that they lose track of themselves. And if you have no track of your knowledge of self, and you're fully on track of the illusion of self, then you get into a relationship with somebody else who's on that similar vibe, that similar frequency, or somebody else who's there to balance that frequency. But both of those individuals are inherently out of balance. They're not themselves. They are both illusions of themselves. So they might feel something naturally connecting them, but that doesn't matter because those individuals are both living in an illusion. This is an example of people who are a part of the American dream and like all about the physical reality. They're solely attracted to the physical body, or attracted to their job, or whatever this stuff is. This is all affected by the system itself, your relationship with your parents, your relationship to spirit, your relationship to true science, the true understanding of this reality and nature as a whole. And then you have your family density, like how you are within your family. So, like I said, within your family, how you relate to your brothers and sisters, how you relate to that experience also has a purpose. It has a meaning. It has a reason for existence. And if you don't do that family work, then it will carry on. Like that work that you came here to do, to expand your consciousness individually and collect. This is how the system controls time as a whole, through the individual and the collective. If that work doesn't get done, then what happens is, within that lack of work, other jobs get installed into the system, and then that's how the illusion actually gets created. So we have work we need to do on our family level. We have work we need to do on an individual level. We have work we need to do with relationships, on a relational level, on an experiential level, on an emotional level. This is how our experiences are existing. And they all come to this environment, this experience, within a level of density to work that stuff out. And you can either go back to the self, go back to the source, go back to the spirit, go back to your essence, or you can buy into an illusion, a reality that is not your own. So you have your family density, you have your relational density, your experiential density, your emotional density, and you also have the density of separation, which is the mainstream and university programming. It's designed to keep you separate. And it's not invented by the so-called powers that be. The separation density is actually part of the system itself, when you understand that your physical body in itself is a version of separation from spirit. At its basic level, you are taking on a physical body that has the illusion of separation from spirit, when you have the illusion of separation from other people. This is part of the system, and it's only manipulated by the system. So the separation program, at its bare bones reality, is not a bad thing, because you yourself have the potential to do some amazing things when you reconnect with spirit, but still have the existence of this dense separation illusion. There's a purpose there. That's my main point. So separation is also part of the density program. Then you have the reality of all these densities raising the entire plane of existence into the next density and into the next dimension, however you want to see it. As consciousness evolves and experiences itself, it grows through communication, through language, through emotion, through experience, through relationships, through your family, through separation, through everything that's a part of your regular everyday lifestyle, everything that's a part of you that has nothing to do with like the system itself, like your normal, like who you are, your human nature, basically. The human nature that's not really a part of the system itself. That together, balled up together, is pretty much how this that system together is how we experience and expand consciousness. And as the Mayan people knew, they knew how the ancient people, this is why I come from a lot of the times the ancient perspective, because you can't know who you are if you don't know who your ancestors were. And you don't know where you're going if you don't know who your ancestors were. This is why I have such a big problem with the New Age community. They just want to jump over what is known here, the ancestors that were here, and jump into this ancient alien perspective, this love and light perspective, this secret space program perspective, this disclosure perspective that is still based upon giving your power away to the system. Alien agenda, that first leans on the fact of the government releasing information to you. So that still maintains the power for them. The secret space program, they are keeping it secret. So if they make it not secret, that maintains the power for them. The New Age agenda, nothing is new under the sun. If you don't understand what is in your ancestral bloodline, your ancestral experience, how the hell are you going to know what it is that you're doing now or what you're going to be doing in the future? This is why that positive cognitive dissonance program exists, in order to have people create another gap, jump straight from fear into the idea of love and light, and don't realize the relationship of the experience itself and the experience of the people that led up to this. It's another disconnect. It's another version of separation. So language itself maintains the lower densities within the illusion of the manipulation of all densities' ability to expand and grow. The language itself, the language within the experiential, emotional, relational, familial density, the separation density, all of those are actual languages. And when those languages get dumbed down, you are actually affecting not only the individual, but the entire expansion of consciousness. Every layer of consciousness is being affected. And the so-called powers that be know this. And how I was seeing it the other day when I actually watched that movie and the Arrival. And those aliens, or so-called aliens that were in that ship when they went into the ship, and I'm not revealing anything that's not in the trailer. you can see that those so-called aliens are in some kind of fluid. They're in some kind of liquid. And that automatically triggered for me the outside of the flat earth plane, where I mentioned the densities, how I understand the earth plane, or the electromagnetic soul plane. And some people look at the dome and what's beyond the dome, and the water and the stars and all that stuff outside of the dome. That's still how I see this reality, not so much as some kind of physical thing, but the plane of existence. So the plane of existence here, we can understand as like how I was seeing it when I was thinking like, oh man, we're in an air environment, and but we inhabit liquid bodies, and in that liquid body you have like a crystalline water. You have the ability to experience consciousness and the soul while still experiencing separation and density in itself. So you are the bridge between spirit and separation or density. You're existing as that. And in order to experience an air environment, an air vibration, you experience it like the as above, so below. You are an experience of as above, so below. So being that, how I was seeing it, the water and the stars being like another vibration of the next space. So like when your soul leaves your physical body, it goes up, or whatever that is. How I see that is just a raising of vibration. So in transition, we are always in transition. You never die. When you're born, you're transitioning from one density to the next density. When you so-called die here, you're transitioning from this density, which I'm seeing now as like the air density, into the next density. Within this air density, there's sciences, there's laws, there's an alchemy of this density that has been manipulated to make you think that it's something more and something less than what it really is, in order to keep you confused and chaotic. These so-called powers that be in the university system have utilized that lack of understanding in your consciousness to control you. Breaking it down to a basic scale, how I was seeing it is, from a density perspective, you have, and this has been referenced in ancient cultures at the same time, you have the tree people, you have the stone people, or the mountains, like the ancestors, you have the elemental energies. I was seeing that as more like a earth density. Earth itself, herself, is an expression of density that is a layer of existence that inhabits her. We are her babies. So when you have a baby, your baby is going to be something that you're not. Your next expression, your next level of consciousness. They're here to do some work that you haven't done. So if we, as the living beings, conscious beings, are the babies of the earth plane, how I'm seeing it is that the earth plane, the soil, the actual elements that make up this, the science, the scientism, but the true science, the elements of this reality is one version of experience. And this is how I'm understanding the ancient people talking about the tree people, and people that were made out of clay, and people that were made out of stone. All those storylines that existed that added up to who and what we are today. And not so much as, you can see it as a literal thing and as a metaphorical thing. What I'm coming at it is from an energetic density. So through communication, we realized that tree energy could expand in relationship to the human experience, would be able to expand more everywhere in between, like the the experience of consciousness from like a dense, just like a tree energy, up to your body walking around and being able to play music or communicate. So communication. So the trees communicate. And bear with me, I'm all over the place, but I'm gonna get there in a second. So really, the densities are expanding its consciousness through the way we communicate, through our language. And the elemental energies have a maxing out. So the earth energies have a maxing out in the way they communicate. It's not a good or a bad thing in a sense that it's different. It's just different. It's layers of density that are different, that have a meaning, have a purpose. They might not necessarily have the deepest meaning and purpose in relation to your maximum potentials right now, but they are part of your experience as a whole. You can't have one without the other. So the people in the New Age community, how I'm seeing them, are heavily connected with and that essence has experienced itself to the max. That is, it's reached that love and light perspective in vibration, to where the elementals reached this harmony, but they needed to expand even more, which adds up to the human experience, human consciousness today. And it's not better than the other vibration, it's just different and a new version of expanding consciousness. So how I'm seeing the New Age community is being sold an old vibration, which is actually a high vibration, not necessarily, but higher in a sense that our vibration that we are now has been de-evolved. We have been taking off our course. So the elemental energies seem like a more higher energy in a sense than us, because we're so far from ourselves. So this is why the New Age community connects so much to the fairies and the gnomes and all of these, the tree spirits and all this other stuff, because the harmonics of our reality are so out of balance that experience is in balance. It is in harmony. So we need something. We needed that, so people connect with that. So that's the earth energies. And that's how you manipulate people to worship something that is good, like the love and light agenda, but it's not good when you realize that it's not connected to their maximum potential. Your people weren't born here as human beings to live as a tree. That's not your experience. You're something more than that. You didn't come here to live as a fairy or whatever. And at the same time, you also experience, you are living as a tree, you are living as a fairy, you are living as a gnome. But from this point of focus, which is what your consciousness, your spirit has chosen to utilize within this realm, you have a meaning and a purpose as a human vessel, as this density, as your family, as your culture, as this time, as this challenge, as this relationship, as this family, as a whole. You have a meaning and a purpose. What is that? You won't know if you're too busy trying to be a fucking tree. You won't know if you're too busy trying to be a Pleiadian. You won't know if you're too busy trying to connect with a channeler that exists, a channel that exists 700 years in the future, not realizing that even that channel tells you their so-called existence, their present moment, is your future. And they can only have that present moment, your future, based upon the level of consciousness and your experience right now in this moment, in your present moment. So if your present moment collectively is based upon a shiny piece of shit, then that so-called future being exists from the foundation of a shiny piece of shit. Why are you listening to them when you have the potential to expand further than that? So back to the focus, and I'll kind of tie it up in a second here. So you have the elemental energies, which is one level of experience. So how I'm seeing this is like not necessarily relating directly to this pyramid, but you can see how this gets into the next layers. This would still be existing on like the cellular level, and this pyramid actually goes into more of the human experience. I'm like speaking in reference to the earth that this pyramid is sitting on. The next space is where it's going into how I was experiencing this reality from the human perspective. So you have the elemental energy, which is experience, like trees breathe. So they have a relationship with air. So you breathe air. Dolphins breathe air. Whales breathe air. Grizzly bears breathe air. But you're not an animal. You're not a bear. You're not a dog. You're not a horse. You have the ability. It doesn't make you better in a sense. That's just one density that's different than yours. You have the capabilities to experience a higher vibrational experience in some kind of way. But we've just been turned off from it in so many ways because we've been taught this lunchable language. But our purpose was understood more so by the ancient people than the people that call themselves powers that be today. And in some kind of way, it went off track, it got out of whack, and it needed to be reset. And here we are. So it's in this constant state of up and down, influx, frequency. And how I was seeing that is that the tree people are that vibration. The elementals represent like the earth energy, the earth density. The human represents the bridge. You have to have the higher and the below. Your body is built up of elements. Your body being built up of those elements, being able to breathe air and bleed water, crystalline water. That's a relationship that is the vessel that expands, that creates a space for your soul to expand into the next layer of consciousness. And you yourself, the soul that you are, isn't really the elements themselves. It's what's experiencing these elements. These elements are the vessel that's being used to be able to transition, expand into the next layer of consciousness. So this is happening so-called individually and collectively from this perspective. And we utilize these vessels to do that. So the elemental vessel is one layer of consciousness. If you need to be a tree, then that's your focus and that's what your soul has led up to, then that's what and everybody is. That's their they go through their points of focus, basically. So at one point, you were an elemental energy. Now you are a human experience. The next space I'm seeing now, and relates to the flat earth stuff, is like your light body. And when you look up at the stars, and this is why people say the stars are like angels or light body experiences, there are the people who have passed on. And when you look into the flat earth model and realize that the sky is actually an ocean, it looks like an ocean, it looks like those stars are floating in an ocean, that moves into a higher density from the air density. So your body being that crystalline water, you are a manifested version of that star. You are actual water with the star spark of your heartbeat and the relationship to your breath. So each breath has a relationship to your heartbeat. You are the expression of that star just walking around in this elemental experience. And when you pass on, you will expand into that star vibration in that next layer of density, which how we perceive it is like another ocean. So you go from one ocean to the next. So the tree people or the elemental energies were in a earth ocean. The human experience, the dolphin, the whales are in an air ocean. And when you pass on out of this density, you'll be in a crystalline ocean, which is like your body, the energy that your body has come together as, but not just as a body, but as an ocean, an entire ocean body. And you yourself, how we perceive it, that focus will be different. It's obviously won't be, it's not really explainable in words, at least right now. From this perspective, the only way we can see it and perceive it is from looking up at the stars and seeing an ocean with stars kind of exist and planets focused in there. And the density, the vibrance of those stars is relative towards how many times you have gone through these experiences. So in order to elevate consciousness, you don't just go and then keep going and going and going. That's a service to self. If you serve others, other frequencies, the wholeness, then you have to go back down into lower densities to help consciousness rise into the next density. And this is where you have all your prophets, your so-called messiahs and all this stuff. And this is where all this stuff gets turned into another thing. But everybody's doing it. If you realize that you're never disconnected from your higher self, you're never disconnected from the elements. You are an expression of that with just this focus. And that's what gets manipulated by the distraction program and the separation program is your point of focus. You get out of that soul journey and that soul essence. And that's basically what I wanted to share with this video. Hopefully it's still running right now. I wanted to read this, so I'll read whether it's running or not. I spoke on what I wanted to speak on in reference to the elements moving through density. That's basically what I wanted to express, and how the system is designed to keep you out of that. So when they tell you that you're the Big Bang, a product of the Big Bang, and you're just star stuff, and you're only the elements, they're keeping you in the elemental density. They're keeping you in the earth ocean, the illusion of the earth ocean. And all of these programs are designed to keep you from understanding your true potential as a walking crystalline ocean, experiencing the air ocean in order to raise your level of consciousness and the collective consciousness as a whole. And language is a big part of that. Not science, the way science is promoted through the university system. But those movies will program you. These Neil deGrasse Tysons and Bill Nye and Michio Kaku's and TED Talks and Brian Cox and all these people, they will program you to think that they are your masters, that they are the masters of the elemental universe. That's what the Big Bang is. The evolution from the Big Bang came to dinosaurs, came to monkeys, came to you. That makes them God, because they tell you they're your Bible, and your God is the elemental frequency. And in that illusion, you have no spirit, you have no God, you have no meaning, you have no purpose. Your purpose is now what they tell you. And when they took on that program, they had to go tell the biggest deepest stories available, which is the globe model, the planets, the gravity, theory of relativity, all this stuff. Gravity is basically worshipped in the university system. When you realize the soul essence, the spirit essence, and even just how I'm explaining these various layers of density, gravity doesn't really matter, because you realize that it's not so much about how the elements react and respond. That's just a part of the experience. You, the experiencer, are actually more of a point of focus in relation to nature, in relation to your ancestors, in relation to your genetic codes. Your focusing, your meaning and purpose is actually more of a vibrant perspective in relation to the collective meaning and purpose, not worshiping the experience itself, which is the Big Bang and all that other stuff. They're making you worship. And people see that a lot, and you can see it from that perspective, in the New Age perspective. People are like, oh, Mother Goddess Gaia and all this other stuff. Not saying don't pay respects and don't realize all this other stuff, but you are an expression of her. You're her baby. You're her next layer of experience, not better or anything like that. You have a meaning and a purpose. So if you just are born and just try to be like your parents, try to be a tree, try to be a rock, try to be that, that's not why you were born. As a human born out of the earth, you have a human purpose. What is that? You have a pineal gland. You have psilocybin and ayahuasca and all these other medicines that allow you to expand into the higher consciousness. That is the next layer of experience, your light body. That's your meaning and purpose of understanding. So what is all this stuff? So if you get hung up in just trying to be a fucking tree, then you're missing out on at least half of your reality, half of your potential. So that's basically it. That's all I wanted to share. I'm sure you read this already, and I thought I was going to go into this, but I'm not. If you read it or not, I was just going to read, because I pretty much said what I wanted to say, which is that last part, and just moving from like the earth to the air to the water to the ethers and so on and so forth, constantly raising the vibration, raising the individual soul essence and the collective essence through consciousness, through language, through experience. And the Mayan people, or the ancient timekeepers, had an understanding of this. And I'll go into this in the future videos, but I would recommend checking it out for yourself. But this is another version of how these layers of consciousness exist within, like the language within the language. So I was explaining like the bare basic, the bare bones language of just the elements of density. Within the language of interaction, communication, consciousness actually expanding itself through experience, like the experiential density, the relationship density. That's what this pyramid is based upon. That's what the ancient ancestors were tapped into. So they were telling you, we moved from cellular levels of experience, that experiencing that point of focus individually and collectively. Then we moved into the mammalian cycle, which is a point of focus. Just as you have a point of focus right now as a human being, at one point or another, your point of focus, based upon your experiences through the entire vibration of your soul essence, once had a point of focus as like a tree energy or an elemental energy. But through experience, you raised your point of focus to now have a human experience. This is why I get so frustrated with people trying to be like something that, some kind of CGI image or something like that. Oh, I'm a Pleiadian, or I'm this. Oh, okay, well, yes, you exist as all these different vibrations, but you have a point of focus right now, which is this experience. Why? What is it? Oh, that's a lower vibration. It's a denser. What? You are, that is fucked. That is a story. That's a fairy tale you're telling yourself. Because you're not realizing the essence of this moment to its maximum potential as the vessel, the experience, the relationship, the density that you are right now. That's not been understood. And it's only been created like that because our surroundings are so jacked up that it's more comfortable to do something like that. So anyway, mammalian focus, familial focus, where you start focusing on stimulus, individual response. Tribes, energy, tribal density. That's when you get into like, you can see the trend. These people who are checking this channel out are very intelligent people. So you see what this pyramid is all about. The elevation of consciousness. Through these layers of experience, this is like the various layers of density that I was explaining as like the emotional density, experiential density, relationship density, family density, separation density. These are all layers of density that are natural. The Mayan people are explaining it from a natural perspective. I just like wrote down these various layers of density as like my own experience and other people's experience obviously too, but just like some of the most obvious forms of understanding our reality. The Mayan, the ancient timekeepers, this is one of their versions of understanding the collective density through language and communication and the expansion of consciousness as a whole. So they understood and linked it to a specific timeline. They understood the national cultural timeline would involve like reason, the age of reason. And they said it started 102,000 years ago and then go into the national, which is about law, 3100 BC. Then you go into the planetary, not necessarily planets themselves, but understanding your system beyond. This is how I perceive it. Not necessarily planets themselves, but understanding the energies of that next vibration. Then the galactics, which is power. You're stepping into your power, into your fire. Then the galactic space, which is ethics. Now utilizing that power with a point of focus, becoming the ocean, that next ocean, like the air ocean or the earth elemental ocean I explained earlier, into the air ocean, into the next ocean, which is the ocean that inhabits, which is the ocean that the stars inhabit. That's what's understood as galactic. And then universal is the merging of those stars and that ocean into that next space, that next vibration, which is what I'm still trying to understand and interpret and do all kinds of stuff. We're learning all this stuff as we go, and like I said, this is just how I experience my reality. This is how this stuff I check out and how I piece together this stuff. So hopefully the video is still running, and yeah. So thank you again for joining me, and all the people who support and leave comments and like the videos and share the videos. Like I said before in previous videos, for people who haven't heard, I don't have Facebook. I hadn't had Facebook in a couple of years now, and we're going on 3 years now. And yeah, it's the expansion of this channel and this information is really based upon people sharing the information. So thank you for that, for people who support this channel. And yeah, like I said in other videos too, the comments I've been kind of like pulling back, and I try to address them in the videos. So I just want to let people know again, like, I do read the comments, and I do appreciate that information and energy and that communication. And I just wanted to I want to start focusing my energy more on pulling that information into the videos instead of really just commenting back and all that other stuff. So, excuse me. Yeah, thank you again. I really appreciate all the older subscribers and the new subscribers. Thank you. And yeah, until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and